And here we are. We are live once again. Welcome back to another edition of Real Talk. Before we start, as always, I just want to acknowledge the land on where we are right now and where your feet are right now. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on where we stand right now, and we are thankful for the care and nurture of this land for thousands of years. And we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And we extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders here today. So we're back again, reluctantly, of course, because I would rather be out in the world getting ready and playing rugby, but really excited for this one yet again. This one's going to be nice and easy for me because I don't even need to introduce you or anything. Just Uncle Al is enough, mate. How are you?
Mate, I'm good. I'm really good. I've copied your haircut over the COVID piece. Thought it's easy, low maintenance, but I'm excited. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak and have a chat to who will be an absolute legend of the game, especially with Victorian rugby.
Exactly. And what I'll do is I'll let you introduce him. But before we do that, for those watching in, if you're in our Facebook group or in our YouTube channel, if you've got any questions or any comments, please put them up, and I will, throughout this chat, I'll be putting them up on the screen. And without further ado, I might let you introduce our special guest.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And I tell you what, this is one that's really exciting for me. I get the opportunity to announce some of the plays at the Melbourne Rebels games. And this guy's name, I absolutely love announcing. It's one of my favourites. I get goosebumps. So I'll do it AAMI Park style. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing to you, Melbourne's own from Preston, Rob Leota. Wow, what a name. What a name. Rob, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, brother. Good.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Good to be home. Haven't been home for about 4 months now, so
wow.
Yeah, no, it's been good.
Mate, I tell you what, I'm wearing a jumper and I've got goosebumps. You're an absolute legend of our sport, and you're a legend of Victorian rugby for so many, many reasons. And from what I hear, you're pretty humble about that piece too. But let's just start. You're now home. You've been away for 4 months. 4 months away from home. What's it like to be on the road for that long?
Yeah, obviously, it's rugby, so it's doing something you love, so I can't complain about that. But I think it was just the whole aspect of, real close with my family, so not being able to see them that long was something that kept me going as well. And something to look forward to. I knew at the end of the trip I was going to be able to see them, sort of getting me through whenever I felt I didn't want to train or didn't do this, but just used it as motivation, and I was going to get to see them, so I'm just happy to be home now.
It's that piece where people, like you said, you love what you do, and having been involved in Super Rugby teams and watching them come in and out. When the South African teams came over, there was a real push by their managers to get them out of the room. So no PlayStations, no any of that. Just make sure that they're active, because part of that piece is you train, you do some of your team stuff, and then the rest of your time you're sort of in your rooms, away from it all. I guess, 4 months away, you build some really close relationships with the squad.
Yeah.
What are some of this? Explain what that's like to build relationships with some of the people that you've actually adored watching throughout your life.
Yeah, no, it's real good. A lot of the players are like guys we used to watch when I was still watching games at AAMI Park. Guys like Michael Hooper, James O'Connor, Quade Cooper, those caliber of players. That guys like me, Jordan. Guys from Victoria we were watching when we were just in Melbourne. So like being around them, and even so many other players from the other clubs, Brumbies, Tars, Reds. I've grown really close with a lot of the boys. Guys who I've rarely known, and I've just met them in camp, and now I consider them like real close friends. So it's awesome. Like you have all that time to build relationships, and it helps you get through it, because it's not just it wasn't just me that was keen to get home and see my family. It was all the boys. So when you have tight bonds like that, sometimes you just forget you're on the road, because it just feels like you're with family already. So so it was real good, meeting new boys, guys that I've watched growing up that are older than me, some that are younger than me. But just building real tight bonds, it's awesome, man. It's something you can't take for granted.
That is so good. I mean, there wouldn't be too many that are younger than you.
Yeah.
You are the envy of every Melbourne and Victorian-born rugby player who's come through the system, and that's me. You're one of my heroes because you're able to achieve what no one else has been able to do, and that's being born in Melbourne, which is a great achievement in itself. Being able to play your club, junior club rugby through here, your senior club rugby, and then on to Super Rugby, and then representing Australia in that space. So I'm a bit shell shocked to be able to sit here and have a conversation with you as well. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there watching this on Facebook and YouTube. So make sure you do put in your questions, and we'll get some conversations happening through this. But let's start with the journey. First one, how did the name Paddy come about? For those that don't know, why do they call you Paddy?
Oh, so yeah, Paddy's just Samoan name. So yeah, parents have always called me that, or all my growing up in church and just coming through, growing up with all my family, they always call me Butty. There's so many versions I've heard of it: Paddy, Butty, Raw Butty. But yeah, that's always been my name growing up, and the ones that are tight with me know Butty was always my name growing up. But yeah, it was just my Samoan name of it. But yeah, either that or Rob but yeah, I've heard so many different versions of Butty.
It's an interesting one too, because it's your traditional Samoan name, but there's been that conversion into Butty to now Paddy to Pat and that sort of thing. It's one of my key things about acknowledgement is that when we announce somebody's name, we need to try and ensure that we're announcing their full name, in that space. Have many people, what are you comfortable with? I mean, at home, what are you comfortable with at home? Or what do you normally get called at home and around your family?
Yeah, just Butty.
Yeah.
And I think even even at Rebels, most of the boys call me that now, which is pretty cool. So it's like, and even at Wallabies as well, a lot of boys are asking me, some of the coaches heard the boys calling me Butty, but they were sort of like, oh, why do they call you Butty? And then I was like, oh, no, it's just my Samoan name. So yeah, a lot of the coaches and stuff at Rebels and Wallabies now just call me Butty, which is pretty cool. So I like it, and the fact that they try and make that effort is I find that pretty cool as well. So whether they're pronouncing it wrong or not, the fact they're trying is something I like. So it's pretty cool.
And that's the important piece about that is about acknowledgement, to be able to feel welcome, to be able to feel like you're part of something. If that's what your friends and family call you at home, then all of a sudden you've made this new squad and they're starting to call you that name as well through your Samoan name. It helps influence that ability to feel acknowledged and feel welcomed in that space. So let's start right from the start. How did your family end up in Australia? Whereabouts are they from?
Yeah, so mum and dad both from Samoa. They came over to New Zealand, went over to New Zealand first. Obviously just working there and, trying to create a better life. And then obviously came over to Australia and had obviously me and my brothers and my sisters obviously moving here, just to find work and give us a better life. So, they came over here and we've been living in, I think since I was born in the house that we're in now, the Thornbury house. We've been here since I was born. So, mum and dad, they grinded just like a lot of the other Polynesian families, coming over to give their kids a better life. And obviously when you come through those sort of values that they bring you up in, you just tend to want to give back. So I think that's why I'm trying to stay real present wherever I am, like no matter what situation I'm in, I just always try and think of what my parents were like when they came over. So, they grinded through a lot of the things that they wanted to give us. So, some of the core values that, I try and keep for myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. How many brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so I got 2 brothers and 2 sisters. So 3 of them are older.
Yep.
And then 4th, and I got a younger sister.
Yeah, nice. And that it's that piece of, like you said, of having that journey coming from the islands through New Zealand to here to make a better life for yourself and taking that opportunity. And like I said, I take my hat off to you. You took that opportunity. Quick question: what primary school did you go to in Thornbury?
Pender's Grove Primary School.
I was a Wales Street Primary School boy in Thornbury. I lived in Thornbury as well in my early years. So Wales Street Primary was for us. And then obviously you took your journey on to Thornbury Secondary. So let's talk through now your influence into getting into rugby. How did it start?
Yeah, to be honest, it was I just wanted to play with just my cousins and a lot of the kids that I grew up in church with. So I wasn't really the best player. I just wanted to be there, just to just so we can have that conversation at church and be like, oh yeah, we beat this team, da da da. So that was the whole reason. It was just being around, my close boys and kids I grew up with in church, and then yeah, it wasn't too much from there, man. Like, didn't think too much of it. It was just wanted to be around my family, and it was like something good for us to just, we always watching rugby as well because of our dads and older brothers. So it was just always around us. So being able to do it as a kid and do it for guys you grow up with is that was the main reason I wanted to play.
Yeah, Kevin Tusson's put in here. It's probably holding the tackle shield for football. That's the reason why you got into rugby. That's probably the reason why. Just a quick one out of that. So you've gone into playing rugby. At that age, who were your heroes? Who did you want to be? Who did you aspire to be? Who were you running around outside of church going, I'm so and so? Who were your rugby heroes back then?
Yeah, so many. I used to grow up, a lot of the guys that like my cousins that sort of lived with us and my brothers always used to watch so many players that I barely even knew coming up. So there's a lot of like sort of Benji Marshall, Sonny Bill. Like these guys, when they're so young, they're not even like old yet. These guys are just coming through, and like everyone's talking about offloading like Sonny Bill. But when I got a little bit older, like maybe around 14, 15, I think I looked up to, obviously because I started playing back row, Jerry Collins, Jerome Kano, David Pocock, Michael Hooper, who I'm obviously fortunate enough to play with now.
It's amazing.
There's so many back rows. I was sort of specific to what I thought I was going to be. Those sort of guys is someone I looked up to, sort of tried to, evolve my game around coming up. But yeah.
I mean, obviously with Benji Marshall just retiring recently, does it show how long that journey's been for you since you were younger, watching him sort of come through the system?
Yeah, now that I think, sure. Like, I think I saw his post on Instagram. It was like from when he started at the Tigers right through, and it was 2003.
Yeah.
And I was being 6, 2003, and I remember like I think it was probably maybe 2 years into his career, around maybe 06, 07. That's when like I think it was the grand final they won. Like we had it on our tape here. My brothers and my cousins used to watch it. That famous offload he put on the sideline. I forgot the winger's name, Pat something, but I just remember it being replayed like right through now, and that was him like at the start of his career.
Yeah.
Now like he's just retired. It's like crazy to sort of watch that and see like the long career he's had, and it's all to an end now. So it's crazy.
How many times did you and your brothers and cousins try that pass in the churchyard?
I lost count.
Way too many times.
Once.
Way too many times.
Yeah, too many.
So let's talk through. Obviously, you had your junior year at Northern when you were younger. You took a bit of a hiatus. You took some time away from the sport. Why did you stop playing?
Was that? Oh yeah.
So before you were 14.
Oh yeah. So I'd when I was growing up, I had real bad eczema. Like my skin was real bad, and my mum just didn't like me obviously playing on the grass, and obviously something that triggered it, and it was really bad when I was young. So I think after under 8s, I took a break for so long, and then coming into high school, Grant Weston was my year 7 coordinator. Coming to school, and then straight away as soon as he see me, he asked me. I think the under 14s needed some numbers, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a crack, go and ask mum, and then eventually I convinced them to let me go, and that was my first return back to the Union when I was 14, and
wow.
Saw so many of the boys I played under 8s with, but they were all like, I haven't seen them in so long, like probably 4 4 or 5 years, and everyone's like grown. And I'm like, man, it's my first time playing rugby again. Like, I don't even want to play. Like, these guys are too big. But yeah, that was the reason why I took that break.
Yeah.
After.
It's such a beautiful story, because you think about that small part of your journey there early in the piece, you know, and where you are sitting now with this. Now let's talk about Grant Wason. What an absolute superb human being he is. To give you a bit of an understanding about Grant, I'm 45 years old now. When I went on a rugby tour to New Zealand for the Victorian under 18s in 1994, Grant was the tour manager back then. Grant was a team manager back then. He's been involved in, and that was 422 years ago. That's how long ago that was. But Grant's been involved in this piece, and he's so invested in his club, in the Northern Panthers, and the people around it. What sort of influence has he had on you? Obviously, he got you back into playing rugby, but what sort of other things has he done for your journey?
Yeah, so much, you know, like probably in high school, he probably looked after me if I, you know, like if I wasn't doing my homework. But no, there's so much, like the influence he has on the club, like the love he has for it, you know, like there's so many guys as well, like at the club as well, like so many people that are at the heart of it, that are just Grant, you know, Grant sort of leading it, being the president at the forefront, and you know, a lot of the love he shows, like sometimes it's so hard to bring players, you know, like when a lot of clubs need players, it's so hard to bring them, you know, just because there's a lot of competition, you know, around here as well. But you know, this guy's always putting his heart and soul into it to still try and bring players from, just like me when I was in high school. He's done it before, just bringing kids to come have a crack. But you know, you only get those people to come when you know you really believe in someone that's, you know, sending that message.
Totally.
Like I want you to come play at the club. Like give it a crack.
Totally.
You know, that's, you know, like I can, you know, I can say for a lot of players that have known Grant, you know, like that's always been him. You know, like where it might seem like it's desperate, but you know, it's coming from his heart. You know, he's always been like that, and I think that's the influence he's had on a lot of us coming through Northkid as well. But yeah, that's always been Grant. He's, you know, he's always putting others before himself.
And that story goes, you know, we're in the Masters group here. There's a few people that have been influenced by Grant. Steve Yakovides, who's played front row for Victoria for many, many years, and for Melbourne Unicorns. The reason why he went to the Melbourne Unicorns was because at tech school, Grant was his teacher back then, and said, mate, you're a big Greek boy. You need to come play rugby. But then he told him you need to come down to play at Melbourne Uni, and Yaka totally misconstrued it and thought he said Melbourne Unicorns. So he went to Melbourne Unicorns and played his entire career there. So he actually went to the wrong club. But in saying that, that's what Grant did. And that's what Grant had continued to do and continues to do, in getting people in their space and saying to them, hey, here's a sport for you that will suit you. Come down and enjoy it. You know, and he's welcomed that family. The big thing I take off for Grant, and you know, being Balangi, you know, non-Samoan, and he's dealing with this culture that he has to learn and understand as well, right throughout. And if you get it wrong in our Pacific Island communities, if you get it wrong, you're almost disbanded completely. So he's learned how to get it right, or as right as possible. You know, which is really, really good. Your junior years. Now, there's been some products that have come out of the Northern Panthers. You know, obviously, people like yourself, Ferretti's been through there, Jordan, Josh Coward, Junior Laloifi's come out of there as well. Soleil, all been at that next level of representation. There is one player, though, that believes he's faster than any of you put together, and that's Montel Pritchard. He believes he's the fastest over, give any distance, whether it's 10, 20 meters, 100 meters. Montel's like, I will burn you guys easy, anytime.
When did he?
I had a conversation with Josh Coward's parents. And Montel said that he would burn anybody at any stage. Now, let's have a chat about Montel then. What position does he play?
No, he thinks he's a fly half, but he's a prop.
It's the same situation that most props have. They think they've got a 10 on their back, but they're missing the 0, and they are a 1. They can claim that they're a first 5, but they still have to scrum, and they still have to lift in the line out. So what was it like? I mean, I understand having that opportunity to play with my cousins, my brothers, my mates. What was it like at the Panthers having that? Where we talk about brotherhood in the club, brotherhood in the team. You're talking about real brotherhood here. You're talking about some blood family that you're playing with.
Yeah. It's it just makes it that much better, I think. For me, a lot of them came from my church. Guys I grew up in church with, and I grew up real tight with. So guys like Fretti, his brother, so many guys from church, like we just come through, and then like we become boys with. We become real close with each other. We meet their friends, and then we become real close with them. And then like a real tight brother. But these are just the guys that grew up, like my blood brothers. Being able to play with them right through, like when you're on the field, but there's times where like you really want you do that. He's down. I'll carry the ball. Like you really feel like more field. But I've played alongside. Pretty was pretty player like I'm through Northgate. So a lot of people used to Christian, really fun. Like,
yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to put New in that mix too.
Yeah, I forgot it. But more so Fretti, only 2 years old, watching closer. But you would see the rugby, like you could just tell he was playing for more than just a team.
And that's if you look at that, our island culture and how that works with pride and passion and all those things. I was lucky enough to play against his dad, Ricker, who at that time was a stalwart of that club, who was a real fundamental piece to the Northern Panthers, who steered the ship. So it's nice to see the generational shift come through and the continuation of this positive piece through them as well.
Yeah.
Which is so good. Obviously, you come back, you play for, you're in under 14s or under 15s club. All of a sudden, you start making some of the rep teams. What were your thoughts when you made the Victorian team back then?
Oh, man. It's more like, how did I get it? I think I was still pretty raw, to be honest. Like, when I came in, still didn't know much of the game. I think I was playing lock. I was playing lock my first year that I made it. Had no clue what a lock was meant to do, but you just general play, you just Polynesian kid, you do whatever, you just want to run the ball, tackle. But I was a lock at that time. But yeah, it was unreal. Like I got to meet guys that I still, that was my first year with, I think Jordan as well, Wallaby, Sione Tuipolotu, some of my best mates I met on my first state tour. And you remember those times all the time. Like I still remember it like it's yesterday. But it was crazy. It was more like, how did I get in? Still so raw, but like it was such a fun time. Just being around new boys and just Vic boys from the other clubs as well. Like not just Northern, you got to meet guys from Maroondah, Moorabbin, and then you understand a bit more about them. And when you play them in club, it's I know that guy. You know what I mean? Like you understand more of the Vic community as well. So it's pretty cool.
It gives me goosebumps again because we did this thing about the Victorian, bringing back the Victorian state team, senior team. The message that you just said there is the same as that we're saying 20, 30, 40 years ago. You get to represent your state with all these people that you meet and they're still close mates to. But then when you see them back on the field again, you've got this high level of respect for them and you play harder and you go harder because you know your mate. You can't go soft against them.
Yeah.
Which pushes everybody in that space. I was talking with Paul Hamer. So Paul Hamer, do you remember Paul Hamer as your coach?
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to play with Paul at Powerhouse for a few years there. And Paul's he was an absolutely phenomenal player. And he mentioned a couple of things about your time there during your journey. What was it like? Obviously, through the system, you got into the state team. You made it through the process, at what stage did you want to make it to that next level? So you've made the Victorian team, you go to nationals. At what stage do you think, you know what, I can go higher than that, than the state team?
Yeah, I think it was when I was 16. Yeah, I still remember it. I had a convo. I think I had a convo with my old man and my mum, and we were just in the kitchen, and my old man was just like, like, because I think I was sort of maybe not taking it for granted, but I think my dad saw a lot in me that maybe I didn't see, and sort of his way of getting it through to me was like, oh, like, I think you're a really good player, or this. And then he was just like, all I want you to do, is just look after your mum and dad. Oh, but he's just like, don't worry about me. Because, like, our fathers always, like, they've always got us. But he's just like, as long as you take care of your mum, your brothers and sisters. And then I think from that moment on, like, it flicked a switch in me. And I still remember it like it's yesterday. And that's what got me going from then on. I just started training so much more. So much harder just from that day. I still remember it. Those words from my dad just really, just flicked the switch in me. From then everything just started building like the way I wanted it to. And I think that's when like the hard work and the mentality I had then just really started to build a lot stronger from that moment. So yeah, I think that.
I think that's a really positive, message out there for the parents out there. How influential your belief in your children are. Don't be a home coach. Be the influence that I believe in what you do. I believe in what you do. I believe you can do this, and sort of work through this piece as well. I love, there's this photo there, and we'll sort of talk a little bit more about it later. Your dad in the kitchen with a Wallaby cap on.
Yeah.
Talk about proud moments. Actually, we'll park that. We'll talk about that later in the journey, and we'll sort of have a conversation about that as well later through that. Now, that under-16s team, you went through. Paul said that you went through the tournament. You played about 35 minutes, and then you got called off the field for a concussion.
Oh yeah, that was bro, that was actually funny story. It was actually my shoulder that was dislocated, but because my dad was niggling me before the tournament saying like, get your shoulder right. Like, I was doing rehab and I didn't want it to look like my shoulder when I went down. So then I saw my old man watching, so instead I said, oh, it's actually my head. So I tried to fight. And then I went off for the HIA thinking I'm not even concussed, it's my shoulder. I'm just trying to get through the tournament. And then I failed the HIA. No, and then I missed the rest of the tournament for lying, and I wasn't even concussed. That ruined me for the rest of the. Oh man!
I tell you what, I wasn't told that part of it, but here's a lesson for everybody out there: don't lie. Don't lie.
Man. Don't do that ever. If your shoulder's hurt, just say it's your shoulder.
But from that, you play 35 minutes out of that entire tournament. You then get named for the Australian A team.
Yeah.
Out of 35 minutes on the field, that's a phenomenal effort. That is huge. That is huge. So Paul mentioned that you made this. No other person in the squad made any of the next level up, the representations, but you made Australia A after 35 minutes of just playing in that tournament. Paul said he also went over to you and you were really disappointed for making the Australia A because, in your head, you wanted that next level up. You wanted to make the Australian team, but you made it to the Australian A team. Talk through, even though the 35 minutes you play, you made the Australian A, what was that driver in you that wanted to make you take that next step and you wanted more out of that?
I was just, I think because a lot of my two cousins, Freddie and one of my other cousins, Morley, so I'm a luck for the guys that made Australian schoolboys in our church. And sort of hear me thinking, I didn't even think about pro footy. I just thought about schoolboys was the end result. So like that was the only team I wanted to play for because in our church, the two boys that made it, they made schoolboys. And then, so I wanted to make that team just as bad because I just thought that was the end. Like, that's what you wanted to make. And then I never thought of anything further. So for me, I just didn't want to get complacent. And I was just like, oh, I know I can make the team. And yeah, but that was the main thing because 2 other boys did it before me, and I wanted to do the same.
I love that because at that stage, once you've been given the confidence by your parents, that the switch flicks for you. You now go from being, I'm not sure if I should be here, to I want that next level of being competitive. You know, being right up. There's some messages coming through here that you're very respectful to the referees as well. You know, which is another message out there for all the younger ones that are watching. What happens after that? Yeah, you make Australian A. What's your next level of representation? What happens?
I
What's your
think
next rep team?
I played sevens as well that same year. We went away for Youth Commonwealth Games in Samoa, and then I was playing sevens at the same weight, and I was struggling a little bit, but I love sevens as well. Played sevens there. Obviously got to play with Josh as well. Josh Coward there. One of the other Vic boys as well, O'Sheen Clarkin. He's a Marabin, one of the other brothers. I think it was just us 3 from Victoria that made it. But we got to go to Samoa, play sevens there. We lost to South Africa in the grand final, so we took home silver. And then after that, then I just remember getting like the most random email from Baden. Baden Stevenson, the CEO now of the Rebels.
Yeah.
It was like he wanted to have a meeting with me and Sione, who eventually, like, we were the first Victorians, obviously, to get signed together. But I remember coming home and I saw that email. I didn't think much of it, but I was just like, I just remember seeing Melbourne Rebels, and then come to the meeting, and they were keen to sign us.
Wow.
And it was like, just didn't know what to think.
It's funny you say it was a random email. It wasn't just Baden going, oh, I'll just flick it to anybody. It was obviously well structured. He'd seen the work that you'd put in. Like I said, 35 minutes of rugby, you make Australia A. There's obviously some talent there, you know, and the fact that you now put it into hard work and converted that into that. What was it like at home? And I keep bringing it back to home because I know you're all about your family and your loved ones. What was it like at home saying, I think the Rebels want to sign me?
Yeah, I think most of us were just like, oh, this is what we always wanted, you know. But it was just crazy because we are obviously playing schoolboys. It was like, man, we've already hit what we wanted to hit. This is what we always wanted to make. And then this was just like, because I never used to think anything after it. So it was just like, just my dad and my brother were my biggest rugby supporters. So they were just like, man, couldn't believe it as well. But they were just like, oh, you know, this is why you've worked so hard.
Yeah.
These guys have seen it. And obviously now you're about to get rewarded for it. It was just so much disbelief, but real proud moment for all of us, and just because I got to do something, you know, like a lot of the Melbourne boys wanted to do.
Totally. And what I love about what you're saying here is that every step you take, you're like, this is it, I've made it. You know, I've made the Victorian team. This is it, I've made it. You know, I've made the Australian, I've made it. I've made the schoolboys, I've made it. I've made the sevens, I've made it. I've made a Rebels contract, I've made it. And the story continues on and on. So it's round 16, you get the call up, you're playing against the Crusaders. What was that like? What was that like? Now, Melbourne born, you're out of Preston, you've got half the stands are full with your family. Yeah. Everybody's cheering you on. You're out there at AAMI Park. What was that feeling like leading up to that first game?
It was pretty crazy. Yeah. My first game was in Christchurch.
Oh, apologies. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That was I think we had a lot of our back rows were injured.
Yep.
Sean McMahon went down. Colby Fangata went down, and then there was a spot open on the bench, and they were picking out of me and one of the other boys that were there. We went right through. we had a meeting in the morning, and it was our forwards coach, like literally had me and obviously the other person who was going to get picked, asking us, "Oh, do you know your roles around this?" And I'm like, I honestly told him, I was like, "Oh, look, I don't know it. I don't know all of them, but I can, I'll do my best to learn it." And then we trained that whole day, came back in, and then they named the squad. They just put it on our team first before they announce it. And everyone's looked at it, and I'm at my locker, haven't looked at it yet, and all the boys are screaming. Everyone's coming to hug me, and I had Luke Jones next to me. He was my locker buddy, and
Yeah.
Pat Leota to be here. And these guys are just grabbing me, and I didn't even know what was going on. And then they're like, "Bro, you just got named on the bench." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And then my brothers and stuff, it got announced on Instagram straight away. And me and Sione was starting, and I was on the bench, so we got to play together. And then
Pretty
yeah,
cool.
on Insta, and they were messaging me like, "Wow, I can't believe you're going to be a Melbourne Rebel." I was like, "Oh man, I'll never forget that moment."
That's huge. That's huge. Hey, we've got a question here on some of the pages. One from Junior Uwalese. He's asking, did you have $20 spare for gas? Come on, Junior.
Mate, get your own.
Get your own money. Ask Jordan.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Let's talk about later on in the NRC, you have an injury, you do your knee. What was that like? So you've now just got through, you've reached the pinnacle of playing for the Rebels, you've played games, and then all of a sudden to the NRC competition, you have an ACL injury.
Yeah. That was probably the biggest life lesson that I had. Obviously, and a blessing as well. That was crazy. I think I started to hit. That was like the sort of start where I felt like I was going real down. In terms of my mentality, everything that I used to work hard for and fix my mental when I was young, felt like it went out the window, like all in that space of recovery. Because I started to get back-to-back injuries from then on. I think it was like I missed 2 or 3 Super Rugby seasons from that moment. But that knee injury was the one that started it. I've never been through anything as painful as that, and that's why I say a lot. If I wasn't at home at the Rebels and with my family living at home, if I was at another team, I don't know which way I would have went.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I had my parents here still. I was still young, 19, caring for me. But yeah, they literally got me through that whole next sort of 2.5 years of injuries. But that was the first one. Yeah, literally showering me, doing all my chores, anything I needed. And some of the times I took it for granted because I'm just like, fuck, man, I hate this. I hate being like. But when you sort of tend to get through to times like this, and you look back, it's like, man, like my sisters, my brothers, my parents, literally going to work, still coming back home after work just to help me out. Like they're nonstop, 24/7, and I'm just laying in bed, thinking life's the worst, But when you look at it from that perspective, you just like, that's what helped me get through at the end, and something that's been helping me now, like the guys. And it goes back to like Vic community as well, just so much heart and soul, in our state and in the rugby as well. But yeah, just my family getting me through those tough moments, those 2.5 years. I can never take for granted, and I don't think I could ever repay them for that as well.
What, your dad being such an influence to you, what were some of the guiding words that he would give you? It's a challenging time. You've got injury after injury. You start to question your ability and doubt creeps into your mind. The closest ones that are around you are the ones that are supporting you and lifting you up. Your biggest supporter, your dad, what's he saying to you at this stage?
Yeah, he was just always, the best thing about my dad, he was just like, he's a man that never, doesn't say much. Just he sort of like leads through action. So he would always just be like, how's everything going? How's training? How's the rehab? But like, I just always knew, like he never used to complain about anything. This guy, like my old man, just goes to work, doesn't complain, comes back and, comes back, cooks for the family. Like, I just had to look at that because I had so much time to myself. I got to see that again. See my parents wake up early, go to work, come back. Like, they wouldn't sleep until you eat, till you sleep. So I got to see all of that again. And I remember that when I was young. But I think I just lost it in that moment because I was real devastated because I was injured. But, like, you see so much more to life when when I saw that. When I got to experience that again, see my parents get up and cater to me after they finish work. I think those are the things that triggered me again and, like, got me out of that state. So it was more just my dad's actions and my mum and all my brothers and sisters. There wasn't many words. It was just seeing actions. And, I think that's what triggered me again to want to go again and, injuries right and come back and play some footy.
Yeah, you've been away for 4.5 months from home. You're home now. What are the first few things you just wanted to do when you got home?
Oh, just give my parents a hug, my brothers and sisters, just say hi to them, give them a hug, and eat some home cooked meals. Eh?
What was the first home cooked meal that you wanted? What was the first home cooked meal that you were like, Mum, this is, or Dad, I want to eat this? What was it? Don't worry, the nutrition guys aren't listening either, so don't stress.
Yeah, no, they had already cooked. They just it was pretty simple. Dad just made barbecue, had potato salad, sashimi. Oh, there was a fair bit going on.
Portion sizes were just the portion sizes you should have at the Wallabies camp, or
maybe 3 times the portion.
It's Samoa and small. Samoa and small. That's what you call it. Samoa and small portion sizes. That's 2017, you go on and you become the first Victorian-born player through the system to captain the Melbourne Rebels. What was that like? What was that opportunity like?
Oh yeah, that was in Japan.
Yeah.
Just crazy. Yeah, like he sort of took me in the office and I didn't know what it was. Dave Wessels, his first year here. It was just an exhibition game, but didn't think much of it when he took me in, and then he asked me if I wanted to captain for the team, and I was just like, what? In my head, I was just like, I thought he was. I didn't know if he was playing a joke on me or something because I was still only. I think I was only 20. I wasn't even 21 yet. And I'm just like, there's so many older blokes in this team that have been here longer, and this guy's asking me, and I'm just like, and he was being serious. He was like, oh, like, I've seen you come up and stuff, and I think this would be good for you. This will help you, like, just be a leader to a lot of your mates that are the same age as you in the team. And eventually I ended up taking it, but I still remember I had 30 behind me in the tunnel before we ran out into this stadium full of Japanese fans, and I was like shaking. I remember looking back at Freddie and I said, bro, I honestly don't know how I'm standing in front of you. But he was just like real encouraging, Freddie. He's just like, man, it's just another game, bro. And I was just like, man, just looking out and I could just see the crowd and all the lights. And I'm just like, I can't believe I'm leading out like Melbourne Rebels. And I was like, this is like my second year in the team. And I'm doing this in Japan. And I was just like, that was actually something I've forgotten, but that's a moment I'll never forget as well.
It's an interesting piece, and throughout your journey, you're like, I shouldn't actually be here. I shouldn't actually be doing this. What's this random email from Baden for a contract? What do you mean you're asking me to be captain? People see in you leadership skills, people see in you ability, people see in you all these things. What stops you from seeing it yourself sometimes?
Man, I honestly don't know. I think it's just, I'm always just like, I'm never really like getting into anyone's business, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm just kept to my own and just got like my close boys with me. I'm always just head down, just, like, I think I'm just always grinding, you know what I mean? Like, so when things come up, it's like I tend to be like surprised, but then I sort of remember like, man, this is what I've been working for.
Yeah.
So I just head down, not thinking too much of, what's next. I'm just always, just trying to get to the next, to get to the next place. And, and when it shows up, it's like, man, what the hell? And then it's, wait, like this is what I've been training for.
Yeah.
And So yeah, I think I'm just real head down, just not thinking about the moments too much and letting them come to me. So yeah, I think that's probably it for me. Eh?
Yeah, you're a stalwart of the Rebels club. You've re-signed, which is great news. What's it like being in the Rebels family?
Oh yeah, it's I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think just because I've watched them coming up from the first year, going to the first game at AAMI Park. I even remember going to the games when they were playing at Olympic Park.
yeah,
When they were Tonga A. This was when they wasn't Super Rugby yet. But being in Rebel Academy, coming through there, and we used to watch the first ever Rebels team at AAMI Park against the Tars. You know, it was all just a dream then. But then actually being here, going through a lot of the stuff that I've gone through, but all those moments that I've gone through, the ups and downs, have always been at the club. So it's always, the club's always been with me throughout everything. So yeah, and I always think, you know, it's just such a good city to play at. Like the stadium's awesome, but it's more so just the people. I think the values we have at the club is some, you know,
totally.
we put through. It always comes first before any rugby, and I think that's what I think we always, you know, if we're good in this, we're always going to be good on the field. Like the values come first, and if you can't live up to those values, then obviously there's not really a spot for you in the team. And I think a lot of people, but yeah, I think that just says a lot about the club. We're just real family orientated and respectful, and I think that's a good thing about being at the Rebels.
Which is like home. And excuse my little one that's joined the interview, which is exactly like home, right? Because that's what we're like as a culture at home. So we've got to ensure that, you know, you feel like you're at home with the Rebels too.
Yeah.
That first game, that Tonga A game, Olympic Park, it became real. It all of a sudden became real that there was professional rugby in Melbourne. I remember on the front, not on the front page, but in the sports pages, Chris Slade, who played for Melbourne Unicorns, who had his opportunity with the Rebels. He was playing for the Rebels at the time. I think he played fullback for that game, and his photo was in that paper, and it made it real about people wanting to be able to actually play Super Rugby, you know, from Victoria, which is phenomenal. And I love the fact that you were at that game and continuing those things. Mark Rowe, he's a pinnacle piece of that Rebels squad and that managing that team. What's he like, Mark Rowe? I know Mark Rowe because we managed a few of the state teams for Victoria. But what's he like there at the club, and what's his role like?
Nah, he's still the same. Good old RJ. No, he's still the same. He's just obviously he's the manager of our team, so he's, you know, but yeah, he's such a funny man. You know, so he can be very serious, or he can be real funny, and then he can, you know, he can fine straight away.
There's two sides of Rowie. You stick to the good side, because if you're on the bad side, you're stuck loading buses, you're stuck doing all the duty shifts, you're stuck doing all that. But if you're nice to Rowie, if you help Rowie out in that first one, this is what we found in the state teams. If you help Rowie at the start, Rowie looks after you. And Rowie, if you're watching, I'm still a size 44 short. So if there's any of those lying around, a few Rebels jerseys, I'm keen to dip in. But, you know, it's that same thing of having people like Rowie that are stalwarts that can give that consistent piece that reminds you of home, you know, coming from such a structured and well-balanced family in that place. Rebels life is great. Let's now move on to the end of this season, I believe it was. You had an opportunity to, I guess, at the end of this season, last season, was it maybe? I'm not sure. You tell me. The opportunity to go to France.
Oh, yeah. So that was I would have left maybe halfway through this year in July.
Yeah.
So I'd already signed that in at the start of the year after the first game, because I had nothing on for next year. But,
I guess, and for the next question of that, obviously nothing's come up here in Australia. What are your thoughts? You know, I've got to take the next. I've got to take that next opportunity, and that comes from France. What's the thoughts going through your mind that there was nothing coming up here in Australia for you?
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was just like I just wanted to look after my family.
Yeah.
And when the offer came, just sometimes, you don't get those moments back. That's sort of the shoes I put myself into. I just thought, would I have any regret if I say no or say yes? I just tried to weigh it up, and to me, it was like, if I don't take this now, I'm gonna have regrets. So that was literally that's all I thought about. I weighed it all up, and I was already ready to go. But
and then obviously, the same person who sent you the random email, Baden, comes into the change rooms end of the season, has a bit of a conversation with you. What was the conversation? What was the thoughts? What was going through your mind when he was talking to you?
Yeah, I was just real sort of surprised, I guess, because it was like I just felt like I was coming towards the end of it and I was ready to go. And then obviously there was talks of being able to keep me here. But this was all after the game. Like, we won, everyone's happy. And then I'm being told this after a win, and I'm just like, I'm listening to the opportunity, and I'm like, this would be good. Like, because I didn't have much chat, but it wasn't more so that, it was just because I was already ready to go. But hearing it after the game, I was just like, weighed it up again, and I was like, if I had the chance to stay home again, I would day of the week, because being home in Melbourne, being with my family, being able to, still do something you love as a job here at home.
Totally.
Like, I can't see anything better than that.
Oh, and that's why you're the absolute apple of every Victorian-born rugby player, because you've got to do what no one's been able to achieve in the past, and that's the entire journey, and you're the first one that's been able to do that. A big hats off to Baden to presenting it to you in a way that you was able to keep you back here and signed. The journey continues into this Wallaby phase. Now, I laugh how I really want to hear about your feedback on this. How did you know about the Wallabies opportunity? How did it come about?
So the season had finished, and obviously just enjoying time with the team. And then I think they were announcing the team on Stan. They were going live, and I didn't think much, but I knew they were announcing it by I think it was 1:30, and there were a few boys getting called that day, telling them they were in, or they were out, or they weren't getting picked, and my phone still hadn't even rung yet, and I think it was literally getting towards the time where they were going to announce it. I still had no call, and I looked at my phone around maybe 1:25, like 5 minutes before. I still had nothing, so I just put my phone back in my pocket.
Let's pause there. What were your thoughts? What were the thoughts going through you? There's 5 minutes to go. You haven't had a phone call. What are you feeling? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously. Oh man, I had a bit of anxiety, to be honest, but at the same time, I was like, I'm a real big believer, and if it wasn't my time, it's not my time. Like, I'm not gonna, be down on myself. Like, I'm happy with the way I've gone this year, but it was more so, I'm just real believer, and just, if it's my time, it's my time. If it's not, then I still got to keep my head down. So whether or not I made it was, it wasn't too much of a big deal for me. But,
and then what happened?
Yeah, and then so I checked my phone maybe 10 minutes later, and it's already after 1:30, and I've got about 3 missed calls. And I pick up, call it back, and it was our forwards coach, Dan McKellar, and he was just like, hey mate, I apologise for missing the 3 phone calls. He goes, been real happy with how you've gone throughout the year, and we've selected you to be part of the Wallabies. And but my heart just dropped straight away.
Where were you? Where were you at this time?
Well, we were in Sydney, so so the next day we were going to fly home. So I was ready to go back to Melbourne just to enjoy a bit of time off. And then as soon as I got that call, then I didn't get to go home. I had to go straight into camp the next day. But that moment when I got told, my heart just sunk. Just thought about my old man and my parents. My mum, just couldn't wait to tell them. But I had to I needed a bit of time to myself after the call because it was just still couldn't believe it. It's still crazy.
What was that like telling your parents? What was it like for them? How did you do it?
Yeah, I called my brother first because my mum missed the call at the start. He couldn't believe it. And then I called my mum and my sisters, and they couldn't believe it. But I was just waiting to tell my old man because I think when I called my mum, my dad went for a walk. So he went for a walk, and then I was like, "Oh man, just tell me when he gets home so I can call him." So I was fine telling everyone else. As soon as I told my dad, I heard his voice, I started crying. Yeah. But I didn't even cry when I told like my brothers, sisters, my mum. But as soon as I heard my dad's voice, I just started crying straight away. Just because I knew it was a big dream he had for me coming up. It was something I knew I could do. Something I wasn't like, I'm just something I've always believed in. Like, if it was my time, it's my time. And I never saw us in the picture there. I saw myself to be there in the Wallabies, and then to be there and like, it was a dream of my dad's, and to hear his voice and to tell him was everything just hit me from like the past, I don't know, 9 years of rugby that I've come up from playing as a junior, and then that whole journey just hit me as soon as I told my dad, and I just started crying straight away.
That is just phenomenal. And then in September, you came 946, number 946 Wallaby.
Yeah, that was so I was a late call-in because one of the second rowers got injured, Darcy, and then I got brought on to play lock. So I wasn't playing back row; I was covering lock on the bench, and against South Africa as well. And then, that moment was crazy as well. Being presented my jersey, and the Wallabies got my parents to record a video. When they name me. So they go throughout all the numbers and then they name you. And every time a debutant, they always call you family, like without telling you.
Yeah.
But I knew because I've seen it before. So I knew there was and then it was just my parents talking, and they were I could tell my dad been crying, but my mum just got real emotional. And then I just started crying while I was holding my jersey in the jersey present, and from that moment I was already ready to play. It was the day before, but I'll never forget that. It's pretty cool what the Wallabies do with the debutants, and when I saw that video while I got presented my first jersey was it was crazy, and it's like so many moments I've already experienced. Like just you can't believe it,
You've got to believe it, mate. You're a Wallaby. You have to believe it now, Robbie. You're the best of the best in this space. You're Victorian born all the way through. Thinking of that Wallaby culture, and I know you haven't trained under any other Wallaby coach, but what's Dave Rennie like with that culture, with culture around the team?
Yeah, I think he's really good. I think over half our team now is Polynesian, so like Samoan, Tongan, Fijian, and obviously Dave is Cook Island. So yeah, it's real good. Like a lot of the team bonding, like a lot of our activities, he tries to get together, whether it's just stuff off the field or having a couple beers with each other. And a big thing he does is obviously we sing a lot of songs now in Samoan, Tongan, and it's funny because a lot of the Palangi boys, the white boys, these boys are like they sort of know it off by heart now, which is pretty cool. So, and some of them will just be singing it, just at dinner and stuff. But yeah, it just shows like how what he does, like he's trying to bring trying to bring something else, like trying to really bring the culture, but making sure everyone's aware of like these guys are obviously we're big on our Aboriginals, Samoa, like everyone's come from different places, but when we're under Australia, we're all Australian, you know what I mean? So I think he's one his message is like always, obviously, like you said yourself, acknowledgement. He's big on acknowledging like there's a very diverse group, but also understanding we're representing Australia as well. So I think that's a really good thing about him. Like he's just real about, and that's what makes us tight as well, which is good.
Well, I interviewed Dave Rennie a couple of months ago, and he mentioned about the level of culture that he has, and that same thing of everybody works under this one umbrella. Dean Duncan, who's coach at Northern Panthers, who actually has done some work on the Indigenous piece with the jerseys for the Wallabies and all the rest. I had conversations with him how important it is to acknowledge this is our people. Get our names right, acknowledge who we are, so we can truly represent, the country that we are representing in that space. September again, you get to start. Now you're able to start a game on the Wallabies. What was that like?
Yeah, that was crazy as well. It was just caught me off guard in the meeting because they named the team and they're just naming the squad and they're going through it pretty quick. So I thought it was the same team. So they just going like, number 1, James Slipper, number 2, it's just going real quick. And then after 5, these sort of paused a bit. And I'm still thinking nothing because I just thought it was the same team. And then my face just popped up on the screen and he hadn't said anything yet. And then he's like, number 6, making his starting debut. And he goes, Pati Leota. And I was like, what? But like, I don't think I totally froze for a couple of seconds. Didn't really click until the boys started clapping. And everyone was just screaming, like, just congratulating and stuff. And didn't really click till the boys started clapping and I saw my face on the screen. And I was just like, man, it was awesome being able to debut, but like starting as well in the same year, like my first year there, was just like unreal. And, that was a moment I'll never forget as well.
I love how he's announced it as Pati.
Yeah.
Not, Rob. So, it's not by random that he does these things. He's understanding the culture and acknowledging who you are, using, be able to use that Samoan name that you've been given, in that piece. It was funny when when Colby was playing and I was announcing Colby Whainga'a and people go, no, it's the Whainga. They're the Whainga brothers. And I'm like, oh, no, it's the Whainga'a brothers. Like, you've got to make sure. No, the real name to pronounce it is. And it's really important that we understand that we get those names right, not just the Pacific Island ones. It's very hard to pronounce the South African ones, but you've got to learn how to be able to acknowledge everybody, in that same space. Some serious questions now.
Yeah.
Who's got the best mullet, you or Ponefat Masili? Who's got the best haircut?
Probably me now, but Pone was the one who started, and I tagged along with it this year or last year. But he was one of the OGs that rocked it here at Rebels, and then a few of us tagged along with it. So I'll say Pone.
Who's some of the toughest players that you've competed against?
Man, I'm trying to think. Maybe someone from New Zealand, maybe Artie Seville.
I guess with that, that difference of playing Super Rugby against, the Australian teams, Super Rugby AU versus Super Rugby Trans-Tasman, is it that next level of step up that it seems to be?
Yeah, it's it is, but it's what we need, to keep going and obviously growing the brand that we want to play here at Rebels. When you play those New Zealand teams, like they want to run from anywhere. And it's obviously like the footy we want to play as well. So I think when we got to play them again this year after that break last year, it was we didn't have obviously the best season against them, but I think we showed like obviously there's still like we play a lot of good footy throughout it. We just need to do it for 8 minutes like them. Similar brands that we want to play as well at Rebels, which is something I think we're really good at. It's just a matter of doing it throughout the whole 80. But when you see it like that and you're playing against it, it's just you can't help but just take your hats off to them and be like like that's just good footy, But it's obviously footy we want to play as well.
Yeah, I hate to admit it because I'm born and bred Aussie here as well. Kiwis are just so good at rugby. Now, I take my hat off to them, but that's the last thing I'll say about Kiwis being great at it, because it's Wallabies through and through. Your heritage being Samoan, is there a part of you that wants to be able to represent Samoa? Obviously you went through the sevens team to Samoa and play. What's that like? Is there something you want to do, or is there now such a culture through the Wallabies camp that you can bring your Samoan heritage to that?
Yeah. It was something I wanted to do, and obviously now, because obviously capped for Australia now, I can't do it anymore. But it was an opportunity I had as well, obviously before coming to Wallabies. But I just tried to remember, like my old man said, just give it a crack. You know what I mean? Like, what if it doesn't work out? You can always play Samoa as well. But yeah, I think it's good because we got so many Samoan boys in the squad. And guys that have been there for a while now. So there's guys like Alan, Alatoa, so many boys. Falau, Whainga'a, Matt Tamua. These are Islander boys, they've been there for a while, longer than us, younger boys. It's good seeing like them have like a voice on them, being able to speak in front of them where you think it's dominated by others. But seeing a Polynesian, like that, being able to talk and speak for us, real confident as well. Obviously, something a lot of Polynesians struggle with, like if you're new to something, you're not going to be the first to put your hand up unless someone asks you. But
totally,
when you come into a system and you see guys like that in meetings being like, he's talking all the time, that's when like, gives you a bit of confidence when you're a new guy and being Samoan or Tongan or whatever you are, you take confidence from that, because if someone's doing that, well, why can't we do that? You know what I mean? And
100%.
And so we should follow. But yeah, it's awesome that like older boys that are obviously of Samoan descent or Tongan, just having confidence to be able to speak in front of the group. So I think it's good in that way that we've got guys like that.
It's an interesting space, and what non-Pacific Island people may not understand is that in our culture, we work so heavily under the level of respect that we only speak when we never speak above our seniors or our elders. We only speak when we're required to speak. So we're actually really shy. We don't do that, because in our culture, if you speak up, it's like you're either showing off or you're trying to be something that you're not. So you only speak when you're supposed to speak. And some people don't notice this. They see rugby players on the field and they think, they're confident in their ability to bash through things and smash this and do that and all the rest. But when it comes to actually talking, culturally, we're shy in doing that because of what you were just saying then. So it's important that, we have the Matt Dormoors and all these senior Polynesian Pacific Island representatives that can speak for our people to say, hey, we can do that as well. Pati, you've got a ton of juniors that are running around now wanting to be you. So the fact that you're able to share your story, tell your journey, you'll be, you go to church and you see at church there'll be kids in the playground wanting to be like you at the moment. So it's a really great message that you're sending out there for everyone. I'm just trying to flick through here if there's any other questions that people have. Who has been one of the hardest? Who was one of the hardest trainers that you've trained with? Somebody that really pushes you, motivates you to keep going.
That I played with, like someone who trains real hard.
Yep.
It's a few guys, one of them, would definitely be probably Sean McMahon.
I was going to say, yeah.
He was when I first came to Rebels, he was obviously one of the guys I saw, but he was just he was crazy. Yeah, it was just like seeing someone like so mentally strong like that. Like a lot of the boys we would watch him being so young, be like, I don't think there's anything that could break this dude. No matter what it was, even if it was something he wasn't good at, it wouldn't faze him. Like, he might not be the best at it, but he will finish it. Like some guys too scared to attempt it. But this guy's like, he just throws himself into everything. Like, whether he gets smashed or whether he smashes someone, he doesn't care. Like, it doesn't stop him. He just keeps going. Like,
he's amazing. I actually got told off by, well, not told off. They asked me not to say it. I used to call him Sean the Machine McMahon. And that's it. So I announced, I go, Sean the Machine McMahon, and they're like, oh no, don't add in names and all the rest. But to me, that's what he was. He was robotic at what he does. He was clinical. He was driven. He completed the task that he set out to do. The funny bit about that too is, I know his brother. I worked with his brother for a while. His brother's 6'6". His dad's about 6'7". Yeah, his other brothers, they're all tall family. Sean's the shortest in his family. You know, and it was phenomenal. I was saying to them, if he had your height, he'd be more devastating than what he is, you know, at not that height. So he's an absolute machine. How nice was it to see him back in the mix after being away for so long? Obviously, he was right there with you at the Rebels, and now he's back with you in Wallabies camp.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. He was guys, you know, we looked up to as well coming through, and we all knew the player he was. And so to see him leave was a bit, you know, it was a bit sad to see him go, but I think it was only a matter of time till we saw it back here in the goal. To see him go again was I was real happy for him because just I've been with him at Rebels before, and to see him come back, and because I know he's an absolute, you know, he's a beast of a player. So to see him back doing it again, like everyone knows he's more than capable of doing the job. So we're just happy to have him back and on our side, not the other side.
Definitely. One last question, and I'll a bit of a statement from you at the end. One last question. During your toughest times, who was your biggest motivators? Who were the people that were like, you know, you've got this, you can do this, who can continue, you know, doing this during your challenging times?
Oh, easily my parents and my brothers and sisters. Literally just my family here.
Yeah, that's gold. Yeah. How much kit do you have to give away?
Oh man, I won't have any by the end of this tour. I'll come back. I won't be wearing any of it because it'll all be gone.
It's the number one piece of going. Got to get the kit. We've got to get the kit. My sister played for the Wallaroos. She was lucky enough to go to 2 World Cups for the Wallaroos, first Victorian, you know, in the club system to play for the women's team. And even though it was Wallaroos kit, we took all her kit. First trip back, we stripped all the kit, tracksuits, the whole box and dice. My dad, who loved his fishing, would go to fishing with the full tracksuit on, the beanie, everything. Everybody thought that he was a Wallaroos coach, but he would just go fully kitted, and he did that for years and years and years. Mate, be proud of what you've done. Be proud of what you've done, and I hope you are, because we are so proud of you for what you've achieved, for what you've created for a pathway for others, but just for being a really good, humble, strong, stable representative to all young men and athletes out there as well. You know, on the field, you're dynamic in what you do. Off the field, you're all about respect, honor, and all those things that are family related. At the end of rugby, what do you want to do? What do you see yourself when there's no more rugby left? Where do you see yourself going?
Man, I don't know, to be honest. It's something I've been told to think about a lot as well. But hopefully I've saved up enough to obviously look after, as long as my parents, my brothers and sisters, I'll be happy. But I think what I want to be doing for myself is something I'm still finding every day. But whether I've even thought of it. But I think I'll be doing something that day, something hands-on, or even getting back into a bit of study as well to help find what I'm going to do. But it's something I can't answer right now. But as long as my family's looked after first, I'll be.
And that's, you know, I go back to that, how good you are off the field, and it's that family environment. As long as your family are looked after, there is a reason why, you know, traditionally Pacific Island people just don't move out of home, because it's not what's done. We don't just go to the age of 18 and go, you know what, we're going to move out of home now. We're going to do our things by ourselves. Because, you know, I learned this saying in Spain, and I know it resonates with Pacific Islanders. You live from your sons. If you live from your fathers until you can live from your sons, And that's that whole piece that just continues on. We are here to help our family. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity just to have a chat. Is there anything you'd like to say to anybody out there? There's a few people joking around. Xavier Brown wants to know who's faster to bowl or Pone. There's a few of these cracking ones up here as well.
I don't know. You have to wait and see. And they're both pretty. They're both very quick for this. What was that?
Oh, they move quick for the size that they are. They move really quick. I noticed at the game that Rebels played in Ballarat, I came straight onto the field with a microphone to speak with Bonnet, and he took off like lightning. He's like, I'm not speaking. But he didn't realise the only way off the field at Ballarat was through one gate, so I just waited at the gate. And as he came through, I just put the microphone in front of him, and we had a laugh, we had a conversation. But even on the field, he can move as fast as he can. Just seeing if there's anything else. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Vic Masters, for this opportunity to chat to this guy who is one of our heroes in this space, the first Victorian born throughout the entire system into the Wallabies. Congratulations, Rob. And we will sit back here and support you, love you, and cheer for you the rest of your playing career. So thank you. Somebody's actually said in here, at the end of your career, you should play Vic Masters. Now, only do that when you turn 70 years old, please. Okay? Thank you, Pati.
Oh, no, thanks.
Thank you guys for this. It's been an awesome just being a passenger on this and listening. Rob, just echoing the Victorian rugby community is incredibly achievements. And I know how great this is well and the great environment that not only your family have built, but also the Northern Panthers. So thank you both for sharing your story. Since we've got a platform, we talked a bit about being Pacific Islanders. I'm going to throw you on the spot here, Alan. You don't know I'm about to do this, but because obviously being Pacific Islanders as well, I want you to talk a bit about this and the importance of this at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely. Look, so there's this rare blood type that actually is out. It's JK null, and it's actually found specifically in Pacific Islands and Filipino donors. So there is this big push for Pacific Island people to donate blood. Now, I was part of the working group for this, and they asked me the reasons why we don't normally donate blood. And some of the people that were in the working group came with the same feedback, and that is because, one, we actually don't know what it is. We're not sure what donating blood is, and we're not really educated in that space. The other piece for that as well was that we found out that, in relation to Red Cross, we know Red Cross in the islands, but when we come here to move to Australia, there's this assumption that blood is blood, so therefore we sort of just take a back seat in it. This here, this blood type is very rare, and it requires Pacific Island people to donate blood for it to filter through. So there were several cases in Australia that needed blood, and they couldn't find the blood here in Australia because the stores were so low, so they had to import it from New Zealand. So there is this drive to get Pacific Islanders and Filipinos to donate blood. There is a group called the Pacific Donors. So jump into that team, Pacific Donors, when you do donate, and donate blood, because the blood does help our own people.
100%. And we know that the Melbourne Rebels supports this as well, as does the Rugby Leukemia Challenge that was set up by a Powerhouse Rugby Club. So once again, guys, Rob, all the best for your tour. I'm just jealous that you get to leave the country and you get to do it. So that's probably the biggest thing for me. Is so no, we're going to enjoy watching from here. And Al, you're back doing this again tomorrow morning at 7:30. Do you want to do a plug?
I'm having a chat with myself. I'll be wearing a dress tomorrow for Frocktober, so log into that. Rob, feel free to wear a dress with me tomorrow if you want to. No pressure at all.
And so on behalf of Vic Masters, thank you, Rob. Thanks, Alan. And to all those watching, to the Vic Masters community, we're still committing to play again. We will get an opportunity to play again this year. As soon as we're safe and able to, we will get a chance to play rugby again. So until that time, everyone stay safe, stay connected. And Rob, Alan, thank you so much.
Thanks,
thank you.